Hey guys, Hyraku here. I hope everyone's having a great day. So first off, before we get started with this video, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm not going to tell you to like the video yet because you don't know if you're going to like the video, so give it a little bit of time and then press the like button. All right. But in today's video, I want to get your guys' opinion on if you like this kind of stuff. So what I want to do is kind of start a series going over like the framework that are like the mental idea, the mental team building process that I do whenever I'm creating Fire Knight teams and then move through the rest of the dungeons. Today's video, I do want to focus on Fire Knight. Fire Knight is a difficult dungeon. It's exponentially more difficult if you don't have one specific champion, like my other account, Cold Heart. So Cold Heart is literally a Fire Knight made with Fire Knight in mind, basically. Cold Heart is probably the best Fire Knight champion. She brings the most utility, and you'll see this with her heal reduction, poisons, which don't really matter, and decrease turn meter, as well as damage based on enemy max HP. So I'm going to go over what I have in mind when building a Fire Knight team. Cold Heart also brings the multi-hitter benefit. So she has a 4-hit A1, I believe it is. So, I mean, yeah, 4 times at random, which obviously when there's one giant Fire Knight standing there, it's only going to be attacking him. So let me jump into here. Let me show you exactly what I have in my mind. Let me show you how my team's currently built, and I'll give you a run through on what I do when I go through Fire Knight and how quick it is. Now, obviously, the champions I have on my team, they're a little bit more advanced. Obviously, like Siphi, okay, she's crazy. She carries a lot of teams. But what I'm going to go over is kind of the roles you need to fill to have a successful Fire Knight team. So if you don't have Siphi, or if you don't have Alton, or if you don't have Stag Knight, you can fill these roles with other champions, and it won't be as fast as mine, but it will still be completed. So first off, the most important thing, okay, is a multi-hitter, reflect damage, or a counterattack champion. So the Fire Knight has 10 stacks of shield. If you're above, I'm not sure exactly which stage the Fire Knight changes from, I think, having 5 stacks of shield to this 10 stacks of shield, but at some point he gains 10 stacks of shield total. So you want to have either a multi-hitter or several multi-hitters who can hit the Fire Knight and get his shield down very quickly. And I'm going to go ahead and run through the Fire Knight to show you how my team works. But here I have Cold Heart as a multi-hitter. I have Skull Crown, which kind of does 2 hits when they're above 50%. Stag Knight, who is a multi-hitter, and this typically works out pretty good. So I don't have a ton of multi-hitters, but my speeds are fast enough. I have a speed booster, plus my speeds are high enough that this team actually works. And there's actually another crucial debuff that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later that actually makes this team basically guaranteed to work. Now, you can also use reflect damage. If you have somebody like Fellhound, Runic Warder, or any of those champions who can place the reflect damage, you can place that up right before the Fire Knight goes. And then as soon as the Fire Knight goes, he hits, and then boom, assuming that no champion took their turn, got rid of the reflect damage, you're going to have 5 stacks of the shield already gone. Your champion's just going to have to attack 1 time. And then as long as you have enough speed to actually get more than 1 attack, you'll be perfectly fine. That's where other debuffs come in down the road, slows, turn meter reductions, but I'm giving away too much information right now. We need to slow this down a little bit. You can also do counterattack, which works in a very similar way to reflect damage. The Fire Knight hits, and then your whole team attacks. It's actually better than reflect damage because if you use counterattack on a team that had Cold Heart, for example, then you would have 4 stacks of the Fire Knight shield gone instantly because she would attack with her A1. Counterattack always hits with the A1, the ability 1. Now, that's the number 1 thing you need to have for the Fire Knight. You need to have something to remove this shield. Number 2 is a good support, preferably with a resurrect, good heals, or good buffs. Now, Siphi fills literally all of those roles. She's a support, obviously. She has really good heals, or pretty good heals. She has a res, which is amazing, a low cooldown, and she has excellent buffs that you see right here, block debuffs, and increased defense. Now, I'd say that probably the most important buffs are increased defense, anything that's going to help you survive a little bit longer, because the biggest thing with Fire Knight is dying to the waves too early. I mean, if you die too early, you're not going to make it to Fire Knight and you're done. But if you can bring in somebody like an Arbiter who has a team res, now I know Arbiter is going to be a little bit difficult to get if you haven't done Fire Knight 20 yet, but if you did open an Arbiter, a Gorgrob, anybody who brings that res is really going to help your team just make it to the end as long as you can keep them alive. Now, segueing that, keeping them alive kind of segues into the next debuff you want to bring, and that is decrease attack. So when you bring a champion like Stag Knight, who brings decrease attack, AoE decrease attack, you want AoE decrease attack. Single target decrease attack isn't really going to do what you want it to do, because you need a decreased attack across all the waves, and you'll notice a massive difference when you have decreased attack on the waves. It takes a lot of the weight off your support champion so that your other champions can, you don't have to worry about them dying as easily, because it decreases their attack by 50% and it helps out significantly. Now, Stagnite also brings a decreased defense, which helps clear the waves faster, but I kind of consider decreased defense more of a little bit of a bonus, because if you can survive through the waves, you may have a 10-minute run, but you're doing the dungeon. Whereas decreased defense, you'll kill the waves a little bit quicker, but they can still kill you very fast. Now, decreased attack, another crucial debuff in my opinion. The next one, and you're kind of seeing it work right here, is slow. Slow is a massive debuff that is so important, and it works on Fire Knight, which is amazing. I love slow because it kind of takes the weight off of your turn meter reduction, which is the next debuff or application thing that I love to bring in. It's kind of basically crucial to Fire Knight, turn meter reduction, because you don't want the Fire Knight to keep hitting. So bringing somebody who does slow obviously makes the Fire Knight's turn meter bar go up slower than it would without the slow debuff. Bringing somebody once again like Stagnite. Stagnite's another champion who's built for Fire Knight, more or less. But there's a lot of champions who have slow along with the rest of their abilities. So I believe Mausoleum Mage could fit perfectly for the support role plus the slow role. So he brings in good buffs and good heals and a slow. So there's definitely champions you can fit inside these roles who's not exactly these champions, obviously. You can play around and change stuff up. But for example, Mausoleum Mage would be an excellent champion to bring to fit that slow role as well as that support role. So just kind of mix and match, see which champions fill the most of these debuffs, and then add them. Now the next one is turn meter reduction. Like I said, Coldheart shines very much with this turn meter reduction thing, because when she shoots her A3, it reduces the shield, or not, doesn't reduce the shield. If she shoots it into the shield, it does absolutely nothing, and she seems to always shoot it into the shield, and it is the most annoying thing in the world. But when she actually shoots the Fire Knight, and she has her accuracy high enough, then it will reduce the turn meter 100%. And that's perfect. I mean, because then if you have this slow going, you can hopefully get Coldheart cycled through, or very close to being cycled through to her next Heartseeker before the Fire Knight goes. Now, I do use Relentless Gear on my Coldheart, so she cycles through a little bit faster, especially when she gets those extra turn procs. There's been plenty of times where it comes in extremely clutch and then she just kills the Fire Knight. That's why you see a 2-minute run I think I had, and the last one was like 350 or something. So it does add for some RNG, but overall I love it. Now you'll see here, if Stagnite gets to go again and applies slow, it helps out so much. But Coldheart just now obviously reduced the turn meter. Now the slow is up, and you'll see the Fire Knight's bar is going up much slower than it was before. Don't have to worry about as much about the Fire Knight going again. If we get some extra procs from Coldheart's Relentless Gear, then she'll do another Heartseeker. But as you can see here, not a big deal. If you have a heal reduction, which I'll talk about in a minute, then it kind of helps even more. You don't have to recover from that. I don't think you need heal reduction, but it does add for a nice extra little benefit so that if the shield does come back up, you don't have to worry about it too much. Now, if you don't have any good turn meter reduction champions, the turn meter reduction champion you're going to want to bring is an Armiger. So on my other account that I played, and the first account that I ever cleared Fire Knight 20 on, I had to bring Armiger, and he is by far the most consistent turn meter reduction champion I'd say in the game, other than like Allure for Fire Knight. Allure works great even though she has weak affinity, but Armiger, if you have him fast enough and you have his crit rate to 100%, he has good accuracy, he is the easiest champion to get by far, who can keep the turn meter down perfectly. Pair him with a slow champion, a slow as in applies a slow debuff, not an actual slow champion, then the Fire Knight, once you get his shield down the first time, he's never going to get his shield back. Now that does lead into a little bit slower Fire Knight run as compared to Coldheart, but some people aren't lucky to have Coldheart. Like I said, my other account, yeah, it still traumatizes me. I've opened up every Void Rare except for Coldheart, but we'll move past that. Now, here's some bonus debuffs that I think are super important if you can get them, if you can fit them into your team. The ones above, so I'm going to recap: turn meter reduction, slow, decrease attack, support champion with either a good res, good heals, or good buffs, and then a multi-hitter, reflect damage, or counterattack for the Fire Knight shield. The Fire Knight shield was that one, and the rest was just kind of wave control. Obviously, if you can bring in some good AoE champions, that's better. That's what I have Skullcrown in here for, to help clear the waves. But if you can survive on the waves, it doesn't really matter how slow you do it, especially if you're trying to work to do that Arbiter mission where you have to do Fire Knight 20 or any of the other Fire Knight stages. This will help out a lot. Now, The bonus debuffs that I think are very much worth bringing is decreased defense. It helps speed up the waves. A weaken helps speed up the waves. Now, if you have like a Dracomorph who brings in decreased defense and a weaken, boom, it's a golden pair right there, and it helps speed up the waves significantly. Now, a heal reduction, like I mentioned before, from Coldheart works out amazing. Kind of just gives you a little bit extra wiggle room. If the Fire Knight does hit it, use a shield, you didn't have enough turn meter reduction, that heal reduction will prevent him from healing up at all. You can have a 50% or 100%. Obviously, the 100% heal reduction is significantly better, but either one works perfect. But I don't recommend, obviously, trying to slot it in, sacrificing one of the other more important debuffs. Now, some CC abilities, such as a Provoke, a Freeze possibly, a Stun, all of those work extremely well against the Fire Knight waves. So bringing somebody like Sill of the Drakes, Kantra, paired with somebody else who can do other debuffs so that she's getting the Provoke on her, so that they're attacking her instead. Krisk works extremely well. Anybody who can play something that causes the waves to not attack all of your other players, but instead either not attack at all or attack one individual who's designed to tank. CC works out incredibly well, and you can kind of build a team around that and not have to bring as much like support necessarily, because if it's attacking one person, you really don't need as much support. Like if it's attacking Krisk, he can stay up pretty well by himself. Now, two debuffs I want to mention you do not need whatsoever, unless you're running a strategy with Zavia who does use these debuffs, but one of them is Poison and HP Burn. So ideally, the Fire Knight is never going to attack once you get his shield down. So bringing a champion who strictly relies on poisons and HP burns, so like a Frozen Banshee. A Frozen Banshee, for example, wouldn't be good on the Fire Knight, not only because she's off affinity, but also because she brings poisons. Her whole abilities revolve around poisons, and the only way for the poison to activate is if the Fire Knight takes a turn. And you don't want the Fire Knight to take any turns at all, because then he runs a chance of killing your team. If he doesn't attack, you can't die. So poisons and HP burn just don't get the value as they do in other dungeons. So Fire Knight is the dungeon where you don't want to bring any poison or HP burn, or at least not champions whose sole focus is that. Coldheart does apply poison, but it makes zero difference to her damage, basically, because like you see there, I think the Fire Knight hit once, that poison did nothing, basically. So we're going to sell these boots. They're definitely trash, but that is the overview for Fire Knight. Let me know again, guys, down in the comments section if you would like something like this as a series moving forward. Like I said, it's not a hard set. This is what you have to do Fire Knight. You can add some of this, change out some of this, and it works perfectly. Obviously, if you're somebody who's way in game and you can just decrease defense and weaken and then one-shot the waves, you can definitely run that strategy as well. That's more of a speed running strategy, and it definitely works. I built that for many of the viewer accounts that I've jumped into, but for a safe, secure Fire Knight run that you're gonna complete, these are the debuffs, the abilities, and the team structure that I believe you need in order to complete the Fire Knight without too much headache or too much struggle. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, if you made it to this point, I'm gonna assume you liked the video, so go ahead and click the like button down below. Don't forget to comment and subscribe and turn on the notifications as well. I'm gonna try to be posting more frequently on the YouTube side of things, and if we can get this series going, I would like to make one for dragons, and then spiders, and then maybe Ice Golem. I don't know, does anybody even do Ice Golem? Well, if so, I'm gonna help you out on Ice Golem, I guess. But once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.